Okay, for our last chapter, it is dealing with adversity and achieving a happy life. And so again, here we are with the different columns that represent the different learning outcomes of the chapter. And you'll notice that the last two columns I made 2 out of the happiness because there's a significant chunk of the chapter dedicated to happiness, which is nice to go out on a happy note, literally. So sources of stress for 100. Okay, Evie woke up and found that her car wouldn't start. She walked to the bus stop, but it arrived just as the bus drove away. After catching a later bus and arriving at work just barely in time, she finds that her computer will not start up. A computer technician comes in and fixes her computer and recovers her lost email, and she realizes she missed an emergency meeting because she didn't get the email in time. Evie will undoubtedly be stressed due primarily to what is daily hassles. Sources of stress for 200. When considering the influence of stress on ourselves, what is the difference between direct and indirect harmful effects? Direct effects weaken our immune system, whereas indirect effects influence the lifestyles we adopt. For instance, if we smoke or drink because we're stressed, this would be an indirect influence. How can having a pet reduce stress? What is having a pet also has been shown to reduce stress because they provide non-judgmental social support, which is similar to unconditional love. Okay, for 400, Margot daydreams about having a wide circle of friends whom she could socialize with on the weekends and whom she could connect with on a personal level. Margot currently doesn't have any friends, however, and feels isolated and at times depressed. Margot suffers from what is loneliness. And for 500, why are those with physical disabilities, sexual minorities, and people who are discriminated based on weight more prone to suffer the most harm to their well-being compared to those in other stigmatized groups? What is because the exclusion they experience often comes from people who might otherwise provide social support. Okay, social tactics for 100. What is a crucial element in increasing adherence to an exercise regime? What is social support? This is why people have running groups and why there is social platforms like Strava to kind of encourage one another. And even Fitbit has become more kind of like a social media type of thing to encourage people or to compete with one another. Social tactics for 200. Jan is a fighter pilot for the U.S. Air Force. She experiences high levels of stress due to the nature of her work and is often dissatisfied with the consequences of her job, such as the death of casualties during certain missions. Which of the following should Jan do to lower her stress and increase her level of job satisfaction? What is? She should identify with and seek social support from her colleagues because they're going to be in the know for what she's going through. Social tactics for 300. Arthur was a Navy SEAL for decades and was often involved in dangerous missions in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other war-ravaged countries. Arthur is now retired, but each night he wakes up sweating after having intensely vivid dreams of his missions, the suffering and death of casualties, and the deaths of his fellow soldiers. Arthur is experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Social tactics for 400. Dante is a first-year college student and is the first in his family to ever attend college. As a child, Dante lived in extreme poverty, and in his teenage years, he struggled with drugs and gang affiliation. However, he was very bright and attained a scholarship to attend college. Dante is finding college to be extremely stressful. The academic work is strenuous, and he's having difficulty finding the time to maintain a strong social support network. He visits an academic counselor for guidance. The academic counselor should remind Dante that what? that he has overcome many obstacles already and is stronger because of it. And for 500, how can practicing self-forgiveness for our failures and harmful acts against others foster well-being? What is forgiving ourselves for failure, for example, procrastinating, can improve performance, lower the risk of depression, and encourage us not to make the same mistakes next time. All right, the legal system for 100. Barb just witnessed a mugging and is brought to the police station to identify the suspect. If Barb is shown one person at a time and asked, after viewing each person, if that person is the suspect, this is called a what type of lineup? What is sequential? For 200, when asked to view a simultaneous lineup, witnesses are more likely to what? What is incorrectly choose a person who did not commit the crime. So in this case, if we were to compare the sequential with the simultaneous lineup, sequential lineups they require absolute judgments, and as such, they produce greater accuracy of identifying a perpetrator, whereas simultaneous lineups result in comparative judgments, and as a result, they're more likely to incorrectly identify the person who committed the crime. For 300, how does pre-trial questioning help to reduce the risk of biased jurors? What is individuals who give answers with strong biases that could interfere with their fair evaluation of the evidence aren't chosen to be jurors. And this examination process is known as voir dire, to speak the truth. Or voir dire. I think it's voir dire. Yeah, sounds about right. I never took, I guess it's French, maybe? I don't know. I was a Spanish girl. All right, 400. Henrietta is on trial for a crime against another person. She is most likely to be found guilty if she is accused of what is assault. And that goes to kind of the gender variables in regard to the legal system. All right, for 500, Bothwell et al. Conducted research examining racial bias in jury decision-making. The results show that racial biases existed for private judgments, but not after deliberation. All right, happiness for 100. What are the 4 components of subjective well-being? What is global life satisfaction, satisfaction with important life domains, increased frequency of positive feelings, and a minimum of negative feelings? Which country ranks highest in happiness? What is Switzerland? In fact, a number of central factors consistently account for half of the variability in nations' happiness levels. Degree of social support, per capita income, healthy life expectancy, freedom to make life choices, generosity toward others, amount of violence, and degree of corruption. Okay, so happiness for 300. Personal happiness is influenced by having goals and the resources to attain those goals. So having concrete goals, which are realistic, and perceptions of progression toward them combine to achieve happiness. Carly is moderately happy with her life, her job, and her social support network. One day, she wins $25 million by playing the lottery. What will happen with respect to Carly's happiness levels? What is? She will experience short-lived increased happiness and then will return to her normal state. For 500, participants in one study were asked to list their material possessions and how much they enjoyed or wanted each of these items. They were also asked to rate their life satisfaction. The results of this research indicated what? What is? It's equally important to want what you have and have what you want. All right, happiness for 2 for 100. Wealth may diminish our happiness by what is? Taking away our capacity to savor and enjoy the little pleasures of life. Happiness 2 for 200. Bernice is a happy person and rarely gets sick. However, she recently caught a cold and also twisted her ankle. What might you predict about Bernice's coping skills? What is? She will deal with the pain quite well. Happiness 2 for 300. Mike has very high levels of well-being, particularly concerning his job. His boss is concerned because these high levels of happiness can be related to what? What is complacency? All right, happiness 2 for 400. What steps can be taken to increase happiness? So there is a list. Experience positive emotions, build close relationships and join groups you value, which is probably the most important step. Invest in experiences over material goods, build personal skills that contribute to being happy, and cease engagement in counterproductive thoughts and actions. And then finally, why are entrepreneurs happier? Because they became entrepreneurs to find more meaning in their lives, for greater personal freedom, and they're intrinsically motivated by their work. They also are higher in self-confidence, self-efficacy, they have positive self-attitudes, and have high levels of social skills. So let's end on a happy note. Have a good one.